Welcome back, guys, to the Paladins Pro Circuit. I'm here, Fawn, and of course, I'm with my main man, Kresnik, as we're going to be going right into the Brazilian bracket. Hopefully, you guys didn't miss that banger of a set that we had last go
Oof.
around in EU. Celestial making sure they can overcome the odds and show them why they deserve to still be in the PPC, despite them being the fifth slot. It was looking pretty rough for them at first, but they were able to
Yeah.
make a comeback very, very quickly and show themselves why they were something to be reckoned with. And the same thing for Parallax versus InControl. Maybe this is a battle of the underdogs today. I mean, I have no idea. Parallax not the underdog, but InControl, maybe they can show something off against Parallax today.
I mean, it's possible. InControl was the only team that took anything to him last phase, so definitely expect to see that. I will say, I do. You could, when you look at the last set, I want to go back to Europe just for 1 second. I'm on the plane heading there now. When you look at the last set, you could say, yeah, so Celestial triple 3-0'd Interstellar. And you could say that about that set, and you'd be right, even though that was a 4-game pretty fun set, I would say, to watch, but interesting to see how that happens. I think Parallax InControl, though, should on paper be closer, at least looking at it down on the standings. InControl, the only team that took anything to him last time, but that was, again, as we know, they didn't have Outlander for the game that Parallax, at least not for all the maps that InControl was able to take from Parallax before. So we'll see how they can kind of figure things out in this phase where Parallax have looked, I mean, even without FRZ, I mean, they picked up a Spexy. The man looks like a monster. They really haven't been able, no one's been able to scratch the surface in stopping Parallax at all.
Yeah, and I think when you have a single player on your team that is the sole reason for at least one out of your 2 bans being Shaolin, or any character for that fact,
True.
I think it's a testament to the skill of the player on the opposite team. So I agree. Parallax have been undefeated. InControl, obviously the 3rd seed here. Parallax are, since they're undefeated, they would be favored to win based off of how they've been playing as time has continually moved forward throughout this phase. But InControl, I mean, once again,
never stops.
I
was just trying to
the overcomes.
Sorry. I was just trying to be deep. And I wanted to add to some
really?
a level of that.
You kept saying
time moves forward. Time always moves forward, Fawn. I was just trying.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. I thought you were trying to tell me something.
No. I wasn't trying to tell you something. I'm sorry. He's used to me. You see, listen, last game he's used to me whispering in his ear like stats are coming up.
Right, exactly.
He's used to me saying things that are important instead of things that make no sense like that. I do have the map bans for this set though, right next to me here. Bazaar and Warder's Gate banned by Parallax, and Ice Mines and Frog Isle banned by InControl. I mean, those are all maps that at least Ice Mines and Frog Isle we're seeing quite a bit, but Bazaar and Warder's Gate all kind of getting taken out consistently. People don't like, I guess, the different style of gameplay they bring. The Jets, specifically on Warder's Gate, enabling some of the different off tanks to be a little bit stronger. Look at Ruckus, look at Rom, those characters. And Bazaar, people don't like the big point combined with the open space, but also simultaneously cover. I guess people prefer to play on Fish Market, which is the same map, but with no cover for some reason. They'd rather play that, but hey, what can you do? Bazaar taken out, and Jaguar Falls will be the first map that we head to as I get these picks and bans up on the screen for you all. As Parallax, their map choice, their first pick.
Right, exactly. We'll have to see who they start things off with, at least in the ban column, to see what Parallax are going to get rid of first. Obviously, it is their pick, and it'll be their ban first off, and it's Vivian. Can't say I'm too surprised with that, and it really does depend on what InControl decides to ban here more than anything, honestly. They got rid of Ash, but do they feel like the Shaolin is a force to be reckoned with? And no, they actually get rid of Atlas's go-around. Shaolin's not banned, and I mean, that speaks volumes on InControl's perspective. I mean, they feel like they can play into that, and they definitely want to, since especially as Rom and Ruckus are open. I wonder if they're even going to try and go for the dive comp here.
Yeah, I mean, I think they can on this map if they want to. Genos is still available, though, to deal with it with the double aggression kind of taken out. We'll see the way that InControl decide to lean, and I think smartly they pick up the Inara, and I mean, you see Genos still available. You'd think they want to go that way, but Inara might say otherwise. I mean, if we saw Barrack, we'd know it, and it is Brazil, so we'll probably see Barrack at some point today, unfortunately for my sanity. But Inara will be the first pick up here, and I would expect Genos to follow it just because of that double pocket coming up here, but it's actually Xin. So Xin, I'm assuming they're running it for that execute potential, whatever sustain Parallax thinks they have with that Corvus. Xin can literally just say no and take him out of the fight.
Very, very true. Corvus, once again, is the first healer on the side of Parallax Gaming right now, though. That leaves plenty of options what the rest of their draft could be. And I wouldn't be surprised here to see, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Shaolin being locked in on the side of Parallax Gaming. as well as the Fernando is what they will have. That's very interesting to be able to see that. I mean, that Immortal, they feel like that's going to be a huge enough value
Oh yeah.
into what InControl have. It can counter out the Zen Ultimate as well. It means
Exactly.
they have a lot of sustainability. They can stop that seismic crash. So any sort of CC InControl have, they can lock in their next support, which is going to be Damba, and they can potentially even have a DPS if they wanted to.
One thing we've been seeing actually a lot from Parallax is Nando, the Kronz on this Nando has been running Scorch. Even as a solo tank, he's been running Scorch, and this is a map with a lot of tight corridors. Not necessarily on the push as much, but on mid, there's a lot of little choke points. You can get those lineups on if you think you are going to be able to do that and InControl. Could be getting lined up. They can be a little deathball-y depending on how they stand on those gourds, but a Tyra will definitely absorb all the damage coming in. Mercy kill, damage reduction, stacking together. Really good into Shaolin specifically, and I think that is why they didn't ban it. You pick the Tyra, your Mercy kill means he can't two-shot you, which is his biggest advantage with the Sand Trap over other DPS, plus you mark him out of his stealth. I mean, Tyra literally counters everything Shaolin wants to do. Just have to be able to execute it well. I mean, she can counter Shaolin in the character matchup, but who can counter Aspexy in the player matchup is what this game's going to come down to.
Yeah, it's less about the characters and more so about the people piloting those characters, if anything, in this matchup. And Parallax are going to lock in the Bomb King. They want that blaster. They want that sort of damage to see if it can come through, do a lot of damage to the InControl sort of backline lineup. And then you have Cassie. So they're running triple DPS on Parallax Gaming, and they have another tank slot open for them.
Yeah, I mean, they bust that out. I'm not sure if InControl will want to do that second tank with the Damba that they have. It could be good to just bully in, but there's a lot of damage. Like, what tank do you want to pick into Cassie Shaw Bomb King? I mean, if I'm sad if that's what I'm playing into, no matter how aggressive I am, you know, even if I end up on this ROM. I could push in with the Xin. It could be a decent side lane, but Cassie and Bomb King will do quite a bit, especially if that Cassie ends up going big game. DPS potential for InControl. It could be tank. Ruckus Rom can get aggressive, but it'll instead actually be Tiberius, and I don't hate this. I think he's a great duelist. I think InControl have drafted 2 DPS that are fantastic at winning duels. Having the Tiberius with the combat trance, the slow on the heavy blade, and the Tyra with the mercy kill. I will say though, it is kind of wild to have 6 DPS in a game and one of them being a flanker. That is kind of wild, honestly, to see. The mobility is always good, but that raw damage output is just more valued on Jaguar Falls.
Yeah, and that those chakrams bouncing in those closed off spaces is definitely going to be pretty huge, if anything. I think it's going to play a very big role to how everything is going to come through for InControl Nation if they can make that be the case. But we talked about it before. It's less about the characters and more so about the people piloting those characters. Do they feel like they can stop Aspexy? Is that what they feel like they can do? Because that's what's going to come down to, if anything. And I don't mean to put all that pressure on him or to show off about how good of a player he is.
He's watching right now. He's shaking. He's shaking, man. You're messing with him right now. He's about to go to game, Fawn. What are you doing?
Well, I mean, the thing is that we've seen Aspexy be some of the sole reason as to why Parallax have been able to win some of these games. I mean, he's just that good when you put him on a comfort pick like Shaolin. So that's what it's going to come down to, if anything. Do they feel like they can burn through these targets quick enough? Do they feel like they can contest the Bomb King? Do we feel like we can contest the Cassie? Like, what can we do? Are we scared of getting big gamed? Are we scared of getting rid of that blast damage, if anything? Do we have to worry about that? It's a lot of questions on the side of InControl. But at the same time, I feel like their draft sort of complements their style of making sure they can play back if they need to.
Yeah, and we can head into game and we can take a look at the talent, see what they run out. And I was right, man. This Scorch by Kron's kind of weird, man. I don't know if I like it on the solo tank, because I feel like when you're playing a solo tank, you just gotta live. And if you end up on point, if you can't play as aggressively as you want to, and you were just facing down an Honora, you're gonna want that Aegis. That 185 effective, 135, even less, more damage that you're doing, maybe not necessarily helping in the trade, and I'm so distracted that I'm not actually hovering over the talents, but the rest of them are all pretty much what you'd expect. I definitely expect to see a debate, though, in the official Paladins, not official, but the unofficial competitive Paladins community server later about why Yomi is bad, but we'll see what Mika can do with it on a map where lineups can definitely happen.
We'll have to see. Everything is going to meet in the middle is what it seems like, as everyone's trying to see if they can get those early dismounts. No one's really playing on the side. Everyone's playing back. I mean, playing to their strengths, if anything, on the side of Parallax Gaming. Also, the Grumpy Bomb with the wall going up means that a lot of that damage is going to be blocked off. They've already forced Ice Monkey away. He used DR almost instantly. As soon as he even tried to make his way on the point, they have to wait for that a little bit. He doesn't want to push up too far, but Tiberius, those bounces are going to be a huge factor, and he ate so much damage on the side of Zen to even try. He's not gonna peek that angle again. He's gonna give him he's going to give him the space that he needs.
I've never seen such a flanking light fight, but I guess it makes sense with, again, 3 DPS effectively and only 1 flanker in the game. Mika's trying to do it, but basically they're just holding down the angles and poking, but the Inara takes too much. But Spexy, hey, a tank shoves the lane. They give up some cap time, but they get a pick.
Kronz has to back off almost instantly. He dashes out. They lost one of their members, but they do trade out of the Zen Force, so now it's 4-on-4. Now they might want to hit the gas pedal. Now they might want to try and switch, see if they can switch things around. With that DR not on the side of Inara, it's going to be a good look for them. Crossfire already utilized on the side of Tyra, trying to see if she can find any sort of damage. Doesn't find much. Corvus healing might be a little bit too much on the side of Parallax Gaming, as now everyone has to reconsider when they're going to push in on both teams, 51% to 75.
Yeah, and they're giving up a bit of cap time. Is Ice Monkey just for how this is playing, but Kron's so low. They gave it up to have that push on the side angles. Kron just can't climb. He didn't do the jump in time and gave his life up to Ice Monkey.
90% already for InControl Nation as the Warriors field gets pushed down. It forces Cassie to roll away. Rolls away once again, but you can't escape from Tiberius. He's going to move in with the Blade Dance and get a couple things started. You have the King Bomb rolling right on through, manages to catch Amadeus and manages to get the kill. Even better, as now the percentages, that difference is closing slower and slower. It's not as big of a gap anymore as you have 96 to 99 as well. They take care of Zen. That's going to be huge, especially when they want to try and retake this. Earthen Guard on her way to the point as the seismic crash has to be utilized. They take care of one, and not only one, but they take care of two. Will this be the third? It looks like King Kaiser is going to go down with Parallax Gaming submitting their first one.
And what a chaotic fight, honestly. It was just an absolute brawl on both sides. Amadeus right there, barely escaping away with his life, but it was just damage coming in. They were trying to pull each other out, trading health pools, all resource management, more or less. And Parallax ended up having the better ultimates to spend. You can see, I mean, even with a second crossfire available for King Kaiser, Spite doesn't really come out. Neither does the seismic crash, and here it finally is, but it only stuns Dintek, who's way too far back to get killed.
They managed to find one directly thanks to the Zen as the Spexy goes down. Now Cass is still up here. Dintek can't retreat, so he's just going to try and die as soon as he can. He's going to move in with the rest of his team. And Car's going to see if he can find somebody just off the side, Corvus, so that way he doesn't get staggered, I believe. That way he can just make sure that he is with his team as soon as possible, so that way they aren't the ones that decide when he comes back into the fight on the side of InControl.
And this little grouping death ball from Parallax right now, waiting for Outlander to come back, and they'll shove one lane together because the comp from InControl, other than that Zen, doesn't really lend itself to flanking, so they just push one side of the map. They know they don't have to worry about getting wrapped behind. Do give up a life in the process. Dintek getting caught on that cross. Now the rest of the team can push. And it looks like they might be trying to, but it's a lot of damage they have to walk into with the whole team stacked up, and they trade Mika for it.
They already found one. Midtow is the one that's going to lead this engagement as the King Bomb rolls right on through, ignores the Earthen Guarded Inara, manages to find Amadeus in the back line. Inara is there, caught between a rock and a hard place. She has to make her way out, but can't. Midtow is going to find that double kill, as the rest of the members on InControl have to find a way back, as Midtow is tossing out so many bombs behind that pillar to force anyone that may be alive not only to not consider peeking, but also to make sure that they can move back into their spawn and gain some more space.
Midtow is just making sure everyone forgets that Bomb King got nerfed with 50 damage, but it really wasn't that much, and it doesn't really affect him. When you can see what Midtow's able to output, actually walking up with Kron's now. Perfect push on the side, but no shield available to keep him alive, so he gets feared back. Kron's just in front of the spawn, and no one's really fighting him. Midtow's able to get out somehow with everybody there ready to clean up.
Kron is already brought to an extremely low health pool. You have the Blade Dance as well, trying to see what he can do, but not going to live for very much longer. They trade out 1 for 1. Cripple Arrow directly onto the Zen means that he can't push up or billow out or really do much of anything in terms of his escape. He actually get a stun thanks to the Grumpy Bomb as well. There's no seconds remaining. Zen goes down. Who'll be the one to touch here? Tyra is, and she's going to get booped back almost instantly. InControl lose this first round. It's going to be a 2-0 for Parallax.
I was not expecting Inara to die that fast. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll set up the fly cam. We'll get a top down of a really tense point fight. It's damage is getting traded back and forth, and then Ice Monkey died, and then absolutely none of that happened. But damage charts. Looking at this, there's no damage boosters in the game, so other than Tyra 2 herself. So obviously that'll put her on top of these charts. I think doing quite a bit for the team so far, healing. Also actually leaning a little bit towards Outlander's side. Usually the team that's in the driver's seat tends to have lower healing, but Corvus's throughput is just so strong, able to kind of maintain that lead we were seeing from before. In InControl, I kind of want them to maybe get aggressive with their ultimates, but look at what they're staring down. I mean, they spend ults to try to defend that, but it didn't really help. They have 5 ultimates from Parallax, and I think they have one of the best, some of the best in the game with that King Bomb Immortal combo.
See how they play this one, as now MGTOW is in position. He has to back up. Great wall from the Inara, but there's a space to sneak on in between. Uses the Immortal around the corner, knows that everyone is back there. Great awareness for Fernando to peel for his teammate, because he knows that he's in a bad spot. So they're going to have to reconsider how InControl are going to try and retake this one. Didtic on the side, plugging in crossbow bolts where he can. 33%, 23. As now we have Tiberius performing a trap. He's activating thing and moving all the way in control. Want to try and punish Didtic, but Didtic wins the trade because of Outlander. Outlander rotates around and takes care of Tyra. They were already low. Now Ice Monkey is one of the only ones remaining, along with Max Souza, and they're both going to go down. 72% for Parallax Gaming. They are sitting in the driver's seat now and might be able to even capture this point.
I mean, that's just unlucky on combat trance. You jump in, you try to get the... Oh, he almost gets knocked off, actually, and does the jump to get back on, and the back line was Amadeus. But he went in with the combat trance, wanted to just get that kill early, but he spends too much. Everyone just forgets they have ammo when they use it. They think they're Talus. They think they have overcharge, and they end up at the end of the fight. All right, one more shot will do it. The long reload right in front, and no way to recover from that. Now the push is coming in, but combat trance spent just to spam, but now Amadeus won't have that for a duel that he gets engaged on, and there it is.
MGTOW already goes down once. Now Makar has to back up. He doesn't want to be taken out by Spexy or MGTOW, as now they found their opportunity to roll right on through. They take care of King Kaiser with the Earthen Guard being a factor. Tropic Reach goes down, but he moves just out of the way of the gore. But to be fair, there wasn't much that he could do in that scenario on the side of Zen other than to escape, even with the gore being there. And Tropic Reach was directly in front of him. 1 minute and 40 seconds still remaining. Everyone's just sort of biding their time on the side of Parallax Gaming to see if they can try and force any sort of fight on their side, or if they can just roll this one right in. They already dismounted Inara, so that's a great look for them.
And they have Immortal here. If they try to come in, they might use it just to counter that, but actually they think they can take it, and they can. MGTOW does trade his life, but gets the kill on Ice Monkey. That's the only tank left. With Immortal team up, they can get this fight going, and they spend it to stop the Blade Dance.
They already used the Immortal as well. Now Crossfire, seeing what they can find as they don't touch the cart. And Parallax ended up winning this one 4-0 on Jaguar Falls. That went by much quicker than I thought it was going to, but I think that's just the nature of Jag, and also just the fact of Parallax really, really cementing why they are the #1 seed and also undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, just so clinical play, I think, from them by the end there. The ultimates were spent exactly when they needed to. I think some Nandos might have just immortaled in the face of that Seismic Crash, but he's like, nah, now we'll kill her. We got it. I don't care if 3 of us are stunned. She'll go down. We have damage on the right, on the flank. They're going to be able to clean her up, and they did. And then having the Immortal to live through all the follow-up desperation ultimates that came out from InControl was really what kind of pushed things over the edge and led them to that. Now I'll pull up the stats that you cannot see yet, but the stream will be able to as I get your eyes on it here. Looks like InControl damage. The damage was just so close across the board, honestly, here. All the teams, both teams were right back and forth with it from what I can see. Amadeus, 55k. Kaiser still ended up at the top, but only about 1,000 over MGTOW on that side, with the Spexy not far behind. So all these damage charts super close. The only standout here is, hey, guess what? The only flanker in the game, Mika, 26,000, actually getting out damaged by Kronz on the Scorch Nando, fighting into an Inara on point the whole time.
I mean, at the same time, though, I mean, I guess a lot of that can be attributed to the fact that MGTOW was just on his P's and Q's this game. I mean, he was using that King Bomb very, very effectively. You had Fernando, aka Kronz, using the Immortal to make sure that if there was ever a time where MGTOW was overextended throughout the use of King Bomb, that he would keep him alive, especially if they knew that's where all eyes wanted to be on him. So they just played that better, I think. I think Parallax had a good draft, but both teams did, honestly. But I think Parallax came out on top with their draft being better. I think the King Bomb was a little bit too huge, as well as the Immortal. It stopped so much in their tracks on the side of InControl. They really couldn't get anything started when you have Fernando to counteract pretty much all of that CC.
Yeah, I mean, even if Nando doesn't end up getting any kills, just having that value of the Immortal is huge. So much brought to the table by that. And, you know, I'm very confused. I still don't know why the only card that never shows up on this screen is the cooldown. Just let you know that error message card that is on Aspexy's build is cooldown on Cripple Arrow. I don't know why it never shows up, but c'est la vie. It really just is like that sometimes, but standard builds, I think, across the board for most. Interesting to see Crag as a filler on Inara, not something we normally get to see. The 150 HP being prioritized over any extra ammo, so a little less leaning towards kind of taking fights and a little more towards maybe that 150 will help me survive just a little bit longer under pressure.
Yeah, and I think that means a lot, especially when you're looking at numbers such as Corvus's or such as really any healers that's going to be able to keep most of their team alive. It really provides a lot to an entire composition when you have to worry about not only the healing they are providing, but maybe a little bit of that extra CC. And Tropic Breach wasn't used much, but when it did, it meant that nobody could really stand there. And we saw it when Mikar tried to back up, tried to see if he can move. Damba tosses the gourd out to see if he can try and heal Zen back up, but he can't because the entropic breach is right in front of him. So where he tossed out the gourd doesn't really matter. And they just had a lot of area denial. They had a lot of counteracting ults whenever they tried to see if they could pop off on in any way, shape, or form on the side of InControl, but they really couldn't. They just had too much control.
Yeah. Would you say for the billionth time that we've been able to say this that they were not in control? InControl were not in control.
Yeah,
would you say that? You would?
Yes,
No?
yes, I would. I'm trying very hard today not to make as many InControl puns as I did last week when we had ended up doing this one, but that's neither here nor there. They played the best they could. Hopefully they can try and see if they can turn things around in this game. And I don't believe I can see the map, but you can talk a little bit about that, Chris.
Quarry, if you wanted to know that we're going to be heading into InControl's choice after taking that L on the first map, and we can head into picks and bans. InControl with first pick this time, and I mean, with the Shaolin, how well it performed, it wasn't even the star, I would say. I feel like Mitao was more the star on that Bomb King over anything. But this isn't a map where that performs as well. Yes, you can get decent quarry control with it, but it's not, this crazy game changer like it can be on Jaguar Falls. So I don't know where it's going to fall in the ban pick or anything priority from them. Ash and Genos, though, banned up by InControl, so aggressive comps already kind of taken out. Even with Rom and Ruckus still up, we really just don't see them picked as much in Brazil.
Yeah, and we don't really see a lot of those sort of aggressive dive compositions like you just said, Chris. I mean, having the Rom, having the Ruckus, we've seen it happen a lot in Europe. We've seen it happen a lot in North America, but not so much in Brazil. We've seen more Barrack in Brazil than we have anything else as well.
Yeah.
That's a testament to say that they are definitely playing in an entirely different mindset than some of the other regions are. But Anara is being locked in as well as Leon. It has been a while since I've seen a Leon locked in on really any team. You could talk a little bit as to why that is. Do you feel like the backliners that are currently efficient are just way better than Leon is, especially locking in Leon over Vivian when she's open?
Just a great map for her, I think, in general. Her ability to dash onto the high ground, the eminence to poke across the map. I still think she loses to snipers, but this might be just kind of a call-out saying we don't think you're going to play snipers. We think we can duel and win if you do pick snipers, but then they immediately pick a sniper. So I would give the edge backline-wise to InControl there, honestly. With that, I think Leon does lose to Strix most of the time, because it's so hard for Leon to get the drop on him, right? Strix is invisible all the time when he wants to actually engage. If he's playing smart, Leon will never see him coming. So Strix definitely big advantage there. And Damba to fill it out, I think. Solid support. We just saw him being played by them last map, but he'll still bring that same, I think, level of value to the team with the pockets, with the fears, especially with these double backline comps. If you can fear one or two people off of high ground, that's just a fight win.
Right, exactly. And even when those rezos comes online, sometimes that split second, that half a second is really all you need. And Ying is being locked in on the side of Parallax Gaming. That's going to be more survivability than InControl might even be able to handle. Sure, they have Strix, but Buck is there. He's probably going to go bounce house, I would assume. And you have Androxus in the last slot. They have a lot of damage, but Ying's really going to pop off once she gets that illusory rift up. I wouldn't even be surprised to see if they decide to lock in that Chronos first above anything. I mean, not Chronos, excuse me, that morale boost first above anything else because of the aggression that InControl have.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. You can have that morale boost if you want to get that ult as fast as possible. But, I mean, Chronos helps a little bit, too, on the Shatter cooldown. It also helps on getting your illusions back up if they get burnt down, if you're not running that high level of Spring Bloom. But Parallax, surprise, surprise, the final pick will be Shaolin. So another... I mean, no flankers for Parallax, triple damage dealer again, but this time backed up with an even more sturdy core with an Inara. Well, maybe not as sturdy with Corvus gone. Corvus does have such insane throughput, but with the Inara, with a Ying that had that combination, plus the illusory rift to support the DPS when they take duels on the side. I'm not unhappy with the combination, honestly. I feel like it's a solid lineup from them. But InControl, Strix and Androxus, and Buck, those three on this map that has so much emphasis on verticality on the mid-fight, that could just lead them in, and Nanda will definitely buy enough time on the point.
Right, yeah. And we've seen Nando stall out a lot of these fights and really force teams to reconsider how they're going to push, how they're going to move into some of these angles, how they're going to hold some of these angles, all based off of the fact that that he has Immortal. So, I mean, in control, they've drafted a very good, sustainable draft for themselves. But at the same time, I really think that Ying might be the story here, in my personal opinion. They have the triple DPS once again, other than Shaolin being put right back into the hands of the Spexy, right? I mean, you have the Ying to make sure that once that illusory rift is available to them, they might actually have a lot of sustainability on their side.
Yeah, definitely possible. What with that Ying, I mean, we know that's basically all she really brings, and I can see the game right now, and you guys will be able to see it in a moment as well as we slide into the game here on Splitstone Quarry. That Ying is running Life Exchange as expected. Also, small return to normalcy with Ice Monkey picking up that Aegis on the Nando to live. I mean, and he's gonna need it. Look at what he's against on the other side. Cassie, Leon, Shaolin. If two of them go Wrecker, his existence will be pain. There is nothing else he can do to survive on that objective, especially with an Inara also going to be a stalwart presence in front of him most of that time. Looking at this, though, I feel like in control, they're not going to worry about taking Quarry. There's a potential for a lot of overwhelming damage, and they can just get locked into Quarry so easily, you know, when you have this Shaw, when you have the Cassie Leon locking down all the potential ways out. It might be hard to actually keep that pressure up, but Parallax Gaming, they'll just stay outside. They'll try to get high ground, I think, specifically above the quarry area, and that's going to be what their opener is. Oh my god, I told you it's going to be a tough one for him.
Well, already King Kaiser's being brought down to half health of anything as well, and Makar is just half health too. I mean, they try to make their way to point, and they get deleted almost instantly. Now you have Ying keeping everyone alive as best as possible. And it's really hard to try and push into this. I mean, the Inara's just sitting there. You don't have your point tank. King Kaiser and Makar's are just extremely low on the right-hand side. I mean, you've got 45% for Parallax, so you have to try and find some positioning that's going to pay off for you. But it doesn't seem like they found that quite yet, if anything.
Yeah, right now, in control, they had some space on the side being taken. Mika, though, walled off and killed by the slow, effectively, from Mika. Parallax disengaging because of just King Kaiser. I mean, look at this position he's taken, denied high ground completely, and it's actually enough for Ice Monkey to walk back onto the objective as well. A surround being set up by InControl, and that's how you win with triple DPS with map control, and they just have it.
Yeah, and every time Buck tries to dive into the back line, King Kaiser, he's out. All Leon's doing is just rotating with their team. She's not really too concerned about that. Great job on the side of Mikarj to be able to catch out Vital on the dodge roll away. See if they can try and make this out, make it a very quick escape. While Parallax Gaming have to retreat. They've already lost one of their members, and Strix is probably even in a more comfortable position than he was before, as now everyone's on the back foot. But you're playing really into 3 backliners. That is extremely hard to do anything on the side of InControl because that shield is gone on the side of Fernando.
But look how fast it's back up. And they're timing it for the sand trap, actually, but Ice Monkey's dropping it a little bit more for damage, but a Buck Wild spent on the point, not able to find too much, but Mika with that 11 bullet intro gets the follow-up kill, but it's traded out right away.
Oh man, they weren't even able to slide on the point as effectively either. They had to worry about the Buck. They had to worry about anybody that was drawing their attention, such as Amadeus on the Strix. I mean, they had to back up a little bit more, and now we have them on the retreat as Parallax Gaming have to make their way in. See, they can, and that's not a trade you want to be able to take, as 1800 damage is enough to make anyone squeamish, regardless of what character it is you're playing. Enlightenment gets utilized and they manage to get a kill. That is going to be refunded to the Leon, so she was able to find that much, but Ice Monkey goes down. Can't seem like they can find their footing here on the side of InControl as Spexy is on the way on the back and even gets the kill on Amadeus. They force out the Dread Serpent, but look at where Kronz is. He's even playing up. Everyone wants to make sure they just keep them as far back into their spawn as much as possible.
I mean, if you can take this space, might as well do it, right? I mean, if you can sit on the high ground, especially with these back lines, I think it's a smart play to make right now. But look at that, King Kaiser breaks right there by jumping over their heads. Midtow already very isolated, and Ice Monkey's hungry for the kill.
King Kaiser already moves in and manages to find one. This is the turnaround that they may have needed on the side of InControl. So they're keeping their shield up. Ice Monkey moves in, he uses the Immortal to, I guess, try and gain more control of anyone, but they already had a lot of the control on the side of InControl, no pun intended. But that's already a good look for them. They've gotten a lot of kills. It's all coming up on the side of InControl Nation right now. And now they've had more and more presence to be able to control Mineshaft and control a lot of these different angles.
Having that Immortal spent, I think, is actually great for Parallax, because, I mean, he used it to try to counter the seismic crash coming out from Kronz, right? But it literally didn't even get spent. He died so fast. You gotta sometimes stare at that health bar if you know whether or not it's gonna be worth it to spend. Scout does come out from the Cassie, though, and they're taking a lot of ground. The health is rough on the side of InControl right now, but the only one presenting himself as a threat is Ice Monkey.
Ice Monkey tries to move away. As soon as the shield gets broken, Fernando's a sitting duck, and Ice Monkey knows that. He wants to back up and try and regain his footing. Well, everyone else on the side of Parallax Gaming is just trying to stand their ground as effectively as they can. InControl Nation trying to make their way back to card. They've gained some space for themselves. They're affording some, but when Amadeus goes down, makes it twice as hard as before to even try to push in. You're another man down. His buck is already pretty low by Mineshaft, 2 half health, as a Spexy manages to catch him slipping and gets the final blow onto him. Soza is extremely low as well, as he is 1 tap, manages to find the shot as Spexy with a double kill and a successful defense on the side of Parallax Gaming with 4 ultimates in the bank.
And I think a lot available to spend for Parallax. Immortal not being there is really crucial for InControl for actually being able to take this. But they have Dread Serpent, they have a Cursed Arm, ways that they can engage first if they want to. There's a little bit of setup, I think, necessary for Parallax. And they don't really have huge impactful ultimates. I mean, they have a counter ultimate and Illusory Rift, or an engagement if they want to take it like that, but they're so low mobility they really can't. I guess is the way to kind of look at that. So it's going to be a tough one for them, I think, to make work that way. But InControl, they can go in with so much. Parallax, they have Heat Haze, basically just a rate of fire increase sometimes. Enlightenment, counter, Scout, don't even have it. Definitely tougher for them, I think, to execute there. And I want to go back to the Sandra just for a moment. He is running Quick Draw 5. Nobody runs Quick Draw 5. He has 11 bullets lined up. He's the only one, apparently, and that's a lot of damage that he'll be able to do before having to reload. But he's sacrificing sustain and mobility for it, kind of playing more like a buck, like playing on these sides and just poking and playing that control game.
Already use the Illusory Rift as soon as they get even as soon as one shot goes towards the Spexy in the back line, and as soon as Inara is brought to at least half, that Illusory Rift is going to be burnt. But really off to gain nothing. All they've done, they still forfeited the position on the point with 15% to 24. The Spexy uses the rapid arrow to see if he can find any sort of ground to be gained here. Seismic Crash locked them down immediately, and they already are on the side. They wanted to play the aggressive angle here, and they will be. Picard has to back up, but that gore is going to keep them alive and well topped off. More than anything, it's Ice Monkey has to retreat by Lava. Amadeus is brought extremely low by the Leon, and everyone on the side of Parallax Gaming doesn't have full health bars, but the Accursed Arm might be huge here. They found 2 members on the side of Parallax Gaming from InControl. This is a very beautiful look for them, as they've gained not only space, but they might even be able to gain some more kills. Oh my goodness, what a flick shot.
Yeah, great control by them right now. And King Kaiser disengages. I think that's smart. Just put both your flankers on in this saw area, because then they're not in the open at all, but they still have as much point control as they would otherwise. Great by them, but they have the Scout now to engage. They know where they are, but they're trying to fight King Kaiser, and he'll just tank all of that damage. That's what Buck does.
Yeah, and I mean, tanking it he shall, because he's not caring about where he's going or what he's running into. Everyone's so low on the side of Parallax Gaming, and he manages to find one, can't find the other. Mid-tower, he's going to find that last hit, misses the disengage ball. He's going to try and roll in to see if he can touch it. Wow. He will. He was at least able to get the overtime, but gets deleted almost instantly, and no one else can touch. No one else is really there. If he ain't trying to place the illusion on cart to see if she could, but even she couldn't make it there. Kronz gets dismounted and forces out the Earthen Guard, thanks to Amadeus making sure he kept eyes on him. Since the dismount was there, they really couldn't do much of anything. Now Kronz has to back off. A beautiful wall from him, but Leon might be caught out. But Midtow even rotates around to see if they can find that last hit. They find one. Ice Monkey might be the next one, as they're looking for another opportunity to see if they can get that tank. But I don't think they'll be able to. King Kaiser, all the way up in high ground, diving the back line. Make sure he takes care of his Spexy. That's another member on Parallax Gaming down, and Buck wants to stay in this fight.
And they actually baited out the Enlightenment too, but Buckwild, I like how they're spending it exactly how it is. It's an ult you kind of just throw out and see what you get with it sometimes. Amadeus trying to get this kill, but the health from Outlander makes him live through a no-scope following up afterwards. But this card will keep moving, a good place for InControl to be, getting it past that early choke point that, I mean, looking at Parallax's comp, as we talked about a bunch already, if they get that high ground, how do you push past it? I mean, it's 3 of the best backlines in the game, barring the hit scan duo of Victor and Vivian, but that reversal, Mika basically across the map finds that. They could spend something right here if they want to stop this snowball potentially coming back in from Parallax.
Midtown wants to roll in while 3 members, or at least I should say 2, come around to help out Mikar. They use the Dread Serpent to see if they can find that pick. They do actually find one. A Cursed Arm right around the corner as Spexy trades out his life for the kill on the Androxus, but there's no one else really remaining, and Nara's really the only one that has to stand on point so she can contest, wait for her team to stay alive for a little bit longer. and she is going to go down eventually. 12 seconds on the clock for that Inara respawn timer, so that's going to be huge, especially as the card is trying to roll around this corner. Like you said, it's hard to play into these backlines. I mean, every time King Kaiser tries to move in, he's being looked at by so many people. Even that bulk up is not going to keep him alive for much longer, and neither is this positioning that they have on the side of Parallax Gaming, because Kronz wants a piece of the action, but it doesn't seem like they can really find much of anything right now. The Illusory Rip is what they want to start things out with. The Immortal to counter out the Seismic Crash as well. Flashbang goes out. Ultimate after ultimate is being utilized here from both teams. But even still, they're going to hold on. Mitchell is the first to go down in this engagement as King Kaiser is going to try and see if he can find another one. Mikaris comes around the corner, makes not only finds one, but finds two, as the Earthen Guard is what's being utilized on the side of Inara. Now she's going to go down. Same thing for Dentik, and that's going to be it. InControl with a 3-1 lead. They only need to capture one more point to submit this set.
I want to actually take note of what InControl did there. I talk about somehow about how Inara is great. She's the best tank, right? But she doesn't necessarily win you the game. She contested, yes. No other tank maybe would have made her live as long as she did. But what did InControl do? They just ignored her. Yeah, Inara sustains fantastically, but sometimes that won't win you a fight. Sometimes you need that engagement potential. So they just had Inara on the point. They chose to take another fight instead of chasing the Inara to move the cart, even with every single member of Parallax all the way off to the side, unable to fight Cart, but they fight them instead. They take a 5v4 and win it on the back of that, and then they just go back and clean up the Inara later. I think great decision making by them, and it puts them in a position to potentially take, I think, the first map off of Parallax this phase.
Right, yeah, it would have to be the first map off of Parallax. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They are undefeated, and for good reason, but let's see how they adapt this go-around, as Mikaris is going to be the first one that gets picked off. King Kaiser trying to create space for his team, but gets brought extremely low thanks to Mitao. Maldamba Healy is going to make sure that he doesn't lower anything less than full, doesn't even get to half with the bulk up and Maldamba combination combined. At this point, they're going to use the Buckwild, trying to see if they can find anything. Outlander is being focused, but he manages to blink out thanks to the illusion. Everyone's looking at him now. Use the bulk up to see if he can try to escape, but he wants to hold this angle. He doesn't want to give it up for a little bit longer, but manages to use the leap. Doesn't want to stay there, if anything. 85% for Parallax Gaming, as now the flashbang goes out, blinds whoever it is that was tossed at, but everyone else is sort of just backing up on the side of Parallax Gaming. Dread Serpent on the left-hand side by Lava, but there's nothing to be found there on anyone. They just used that to try and peel, I believe, as Mikaris not only finds one, will he find the second one? Outlander is there, but Mikaris is less than half health. The Cursed Arm, see if you can find anything. Or the guard was down on the side of Anar. That's another kill. 4 on the side of InControl Nation as Parallax Gaming. I don't think they'll be able to make it back as effectively. Mitao is the only one remaining.
They did see him, but so he is going to make King Kaiser look away. But look at how passive everybody on InControl is. They might have a chance to get in with these backlines, especially with Kron's not getting dismounted here. So the last fight for Parallax, they have to make it work. These flanks, though, same positioning they have, but Midtown now flanking on the right side. Enlightenment whiffs, but Kron's just trading sustain on point.
Spexy manages to find the kill directly on the King Kaiser as the shield is now broken on the side of Ice Monkey. Amadeus finds one on the Outlander. Mikaris goes down soon after that. They don't have a healer. How much longer will they be able to survive for? Kronz has to back off a point. It's 99-99 right now, and they get the kill directly onto the Inara. There's not much remaining. Immortal just to make sure they can submit this one in the books, and they do. InControl Nation take the first map that off of Parallax Gaming, and no team can be able to say that they've done that before.
In a month, by the way.
In a month, yeah.
When you say it like that, when you say like this phase, people are like, wow, yeah, when did the phase start? Last week? No, quarantine's got all of our minds messed up. It's been a month since that's happened, but I mean, good looks to Parallax, to InControl into Parallax. I think the way they played their comp, this double flanker play inside Saw to avoid the line of sight from this triple back line that Parallax wanted to play, it was perfect. And they knew what Parallax were doing. Parallax kept sending one person from high ground down to lava. They just had one flank looking forward, one flank looking backwards. Whenever they got engaged, they would just scream to engage on whoever that was. Maybe they lose one for it, but I think getting rid of one of the backlines in a triple DPS, almost death ball-y comp, the way that they were playing it, made it a lot easier for InControl to take that, because they were playing more on the sustain end of things with that Buck, with that Andro,
right,
able to absorb a little bit more damage than a standard damage dealer would have been able to.
And getting a lot of high ground on those targets too. I mean, that's pretty
Also
good,
true.
especially considering it was super hard to play into that triple backline sort of composition that they had, and it was extremely strong for them. I mean, it was working out beautifully for them at first, but in the long run of things, I think they were just able to prioritize a lot of those targets way better. Kaiser was drawing a lot of eyes towards him. It even took two people on those backline DPS to even see if they can try and find that kill on him. So I mean, I'm not too sure, honestly. I mean, I guess it was just a better draft. If anything, they were able to find the picks they needed. Amadeus was feeling more comfortable because of how aggressive King Kaiser had to play, and because of how aggressive the Androxus had to play. It drew so many eyes towards them, and it paid off for them because they're able to take that map.
So Aegis Nando, by the way, only 5,000 less damage than an Inara that he was trading into the entire game, absorbing also another extra 103,000 into his shield. And this is the real reason why I wanted to see these healing stats. Look at this buck, 34,000 healing just onto himself. With that, I mean, Max Souza, he got more 15,000 more healing than Damba did to himself with a gourd, and that's kind of impressive, I would say. Top self healing in the game, but the top raw healing goes to Max, keeping his team pocketed and alive with the damage. And I mentioned this because they were deathballing together, taking fights so much. No one damage dealer is going to be a star from Parallax in a map that they lose like that. But because every time they fought someone, I mean, it was Mitau and Dintic together, Aspexy and Mitau together pushing a lane. See how what story the KDAs tell, and this is definitely leaning a little bit harder towards InControl, with Amadeus dying only 3 times across that game.
Let's talk about that Aspexy, 11-9, 0-7 for Parallax. I mean, pretty much everyone in the negative slash lines on the side of Parallax Gaming. It just means that they weren't able to find the foothold that they needed, except for Aspexy, of course, yeah. But even still, at the same time, it doesn't mean that Shaolin wasn't able to find the marks that they needed to. Sure, he was able to find some targets. He was able to plug in a lot of damage. But at the end of the day, they weren't able to find those picks. They were playing into very extremely tanky targets. Every time King Kaiser was being looked at, sure, I said it was hard for them to play into those backline DPSs. That triple backline was really, really difficult. But every time he used bulk up, if Damba even used just a tiny fraction of healing on Buck, just a small little crumb, he never dropped below half.
Absolutely.
So I think that is a huge testament as to how InControl were able to take the situation and make the best of it, playing into such hard characters to play into.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think InControl, into that, having those flanks, just absorbing all of that, every time that they wanted to move in and just delete someone, they weren't really given that luxury at all. And I think that was a testament to how InControl played it. I think really smart by them. Parallax, though, for the first time, other than winning a coin flip, they have a map choice. Something we really don't get to see by them that much, which, honestly, if they pick the same map every time unless it gets banned, they're pretty lucky because they can hide their map pool for when games get to this kind of situation. But I don't think it'll be a surprise to anybody that where does Parallax want to take us? Well, something pretty standard. We're going to Brightmarsh.
Yeah. And once again, another up-in-your-face sort of map. We've seen how they played on Jag. We saw the fact that they were able to 4-0 things pretty quickly. So in the long run, I too would want to have a smaller map that we can play on whenever we want to. I mean, it just if the shoe fits, wear it, I guess. So that's a great look for Parallax to be able to not only have a comfortable map. Let's see how they draft everything, though. As soon as we get an opportunity to go into the picks and bans. I mean,
I forgot to wipe the last picks and bans is what happened, if you're wondering. So we'll be, as I frantically double-click the entire pick ban screen so we can head right back into a blank pick and ban screen this time. Hopefully we can see what Parallax want to ban first here on Brightmarsh. A close-range map, so one where I think we'd expect to see similar bans to what we saw on Brightmarsh earlier.
Right.
But Vivian will be the first, and I don't think that will surprise anybody. She has a lot of lethal close-range damage. Put her in window, put a shield in front of her that she can just put up herself. How do you win a trade into that as a backline?
Yeah, I'm not too sure how they would win a trade into that either. I mean, Vivian just has so much damage. I mean, it's hard to watch down those entire sight lines. The deflector shield means she's going to stay alive for longer. So, I mean, I agree. It's going to be hard to fight back against her. Atlas is going to be taken away from either team by InControl's choice of the ban here. Buck, I was just about to ask you, do you feel like that Buck is something that Parallax may have felt like was a little bit harder to play into? And it seems like it was. I mean, they definitely feel like it as they get rid of the Buck on the side of Parallax Gaming, and Corvus is going to be the last ban for InControl Nation.
I mean, I think it's smart to get rid of that Buck. In Brazil, it's been strong for quite a while in general, from phase 1 now to phase 2. Buck just takes so much damage and gets away with it. People just don't really know how to deal with it. And Genos, he gets banned by the team that's picking it because they realize, oh yeah, if they just grab me out of my heroic leap, I can't do anything. So
Right.
they know kind of to get rid of that counterplay. But Parallax with the first pick on Bright Marsh, they choose to go with Ashe. I think it's smart for them. Maybe InControl might want to take away the Shaw now because it wasn't banned again, and we know Parallax are just going to pick it every time it's available, and it's done well every single time, win or lose. We'll see if InControl try to do the same answer they had last time, or if they just take it for themselves.
This is definitely the foothold that I think InControl might want to have. I don't know if they actually take away the Shaolin here. I think they might go a frontliner like Anar, for example, and maybe I was thinking like a Zen, if anything, but they actually want the Androxus instead. The reason being because I would imagine that Ashe would want to be countered out by the Zen. I mean, the guillotine is just too strong. It's going to be able to melt a lot of those tanks and stop that engagement, if that needs to even be the case. So, I mean, based on how they won last time, I mean, I guess they don't feel as threatened by Spexy Shaolin, which is not something I would expect to hear from any team in the Brazilian bracket. But InControl,
I'm not even in the game, and I feel threatened by a Spexy Shaolin. Just
right, right, exactly.
I'd be banning it.
That's exactly what it is that I'm saying. Like, it's just the pure fact that they don't feel as threatened by it because clearly they left it open. They've left it open 3 times and then won one of those times, so they feel comfortable playing into that. Maybe it's just the understanding it is that InControl have. Well, we'll have to see if they can actually fight back against that Shaolin once we get in the game. But Mount Damba, in terms of sustainability, and Talus on the side of Parallax Gaming as things are rounding themselves out, and Maeve is the final lock-in for Parallax Gaming. They want that hard, in-your-face, aggressive sort of play style, and that is very, very telling based off of the characters they have picked.
Yeah, and I wonder what InControl are going to end it with, because they banned Atlas from themselves. Atlas would have been perfect, honestly, to deal with this, that deja vu big setback, or just split their team with the temporal divide. Definitely some options there potentially, but I don't think we've seen a single double tank comp yet from Brazil today. I'm pretty sure we've seen only triple DPS getting played, and it looks like that won't be changing at all. Tyra, the final lock-in for InControl. We mentioned earlier, perfect, I think, counter to Shaolin, but it comes down to the player, because Spexy apparently just does whatever he wants on Shaolin, no matter what the enemy comp is.
Yeah, and I think that's a great look for them once again on the side of InControl. Sure, they get rid of the Buck this time around, but you still got to play into a very tanky DPS as well. I mean, that Tyra is not something to scoff at. I mean, we saw it last weekend with Tyra living against the odds with Corvus. So
True.
That's a very, very strong way of being able to tell that Tyra not only is tanky, but she has that burst damage thanks to Mercy Kill. So you got to respect the Tyra pick on the side of King Kaiser that's going to be playing it, I would believe. And we're going to have to head right in the game whenever it is that we actually get the opportunity. But do you like any draft over the other right now?
Oh, I thought you were just going to ask me if I liked any draft, and I was going to say no. I'm actually never happy when I see these teams pick their characters. But if I had to lean one way, I like the more standard style of InControl. I think Tyra is actually a great pick on this map in general as we do head into the game, so you guys can see what we can see here with Luminary being picked up by Genos. Not surprising. I like the more standard look of InControl's draft here. I think the Tyra is a good pick into them. I think they have great ways to deal with the flankers, but again, at the end of the day, it's a skill matchup, like we said on Jaguar Falls. I didn't hate their comp on Jaguar Falls either, but skill-wise, Parallax just kind of outclassed him, and this is looking to be potentially a very similar map, unless they can enable Mika. He was the lone flanker last time, and now he's going to have to deal with Dintic and Mitau on this Maeve, trying to run him down.
Well, let's see how they adapt their strategies to not only their compositions, but how the previous games have gone, as everyone is now mounted up and ready to fight. They want to be able to move in to see if they can get anything going. Everyone's sort of biding their time, though. Ice Monkey already killed Outlander. They were looking at him through that little window on their side of the spawn, on the side of InControl Nation's spawn, and it just means a lot to be able to take care of a target like that almost instantly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened exactly. Sometimes you just don't know what angles they have. If you give up some point in the map, you're going to get overwhelmed. I actually just saw a Talus. Looks like he's flanked right now. They didn't see him coming, but look at that burst damage. He has to run away before he can even get hit by the next shot. But he took that aggro. They turned away, and that let Mitau run in and catch King Kaiser.
Now, Ice Monkey is one of the only ones that has to try and get out here. Spexy finds that kill as they find another. And there's just, the kills are checkerboarding, if anything, right now. But 6%, excuse me, already for Parallax Gaming, as they're still biding their time. 87% for InControl. They've been sitting on the point the entire time. It's sitting pretty, as now Cassie will take the spot of Anara. Everyone's just waiting. Beautiful snake. I cannot believe that worked out the way that it did. He tried to blitz upper onto point to see if he could contest, and he gets snake bitten out of the dash, and they capture the point because of that. Souza, just pretend like you planned that if you didn't, and if you did, kudos to you, my friend.
Plus the body block, by the way, because King Kaiser was in the way, and because the Blitz Upper got canceled, it didn't go through them, but Parallax just going through them right now. There's 2 kills, 3 with Dinty getting that. Cassie might be able to make it out, but this Inara not going to be so lucky.
Yeah, Inara immediately goes down, and same thing for the King Kaiser on the Tyra as he gets void gripped and dealt with. Now everyone's pushing into their spawn. The Control have to find their way back to the cart and see if they can get anything started. And that burst damage was a little bit too much even for Cassie to handle as now Midtown wants to move in. True power to start things off. They get taken care of as Inara turns around, gets that last hit for her team members, and he can't find the daggers to end it off. Thank God Kronz was there, because if that wasn't the case, he may have not have gotten that kill. They would have turned on Kronz, and it may have been curtains for him. So 1:25 remaining for InControl with 3 ultimates still alive.
I will say, just seeing that Maeve standing in the middle of all of them, they're all midnight and they can't see anything, and he was just putting out so much damage. Maeve really is kind of a huge presence, and we got to look at the win rates recently. Maeve in PPC is pretty high, only getting picked when she's going to win games. We'll see if Parallax can continue that win rate, but caught in, he doesn't get through the doorway, but the mobility of her and that damage reduction, it lets Midtown slip out.
Ice Monkey, beautiful wall, and better way to cement himself in that corner to make sure they can't see him out of the window. They use the crossfire to see where they can get started off, and they get void gripped almost instantly. They take care of the Tyra at least, but look at how the kills are checkerboarding now. It seems more so in the favor of InControl Nation, as that Dread Serpent played a huge role in cementing their aggression here, as Kronz and Aspexy are up above in high ground. Aspexy has to sort of bash his way out, but Aspexy wants to sort of go in, see if he can draw eyes for even a little bit, see if he can get anything started, but can't really escape out of that scenario. Decides to see if he can try and get anything for his team, but can't quite find it.
Right now, look at this. Actually, wait, Seismic Crash coming in. They really want to push, but he just hits the wall in front of him, expecting someone to drop, but no one's quite there, so an ult not in the tank for the next fight. But they also Accursed Arm. They're spending a lot, and they force out the Assert Dominance.
Yeah, Assert Dominance is there, but it's gained them enough space for at least the rest of the Parallax gaming to push in. King Kaiser takes care of 1, but they've already lost 2 on the side of InControl Nation. One of those 2 not being the Inara, so they're chilling right now. Inara has not given up the point. Gets snake bitten as Kronz, and he's going to have to move back. The Gourd gets tossed out, or the guard is going to keep Inara alive for quite some time, as now they are playing very, very aggressive angles on the side of InControl Nation. Kronz is trying to live for as long as he can. Earthen Guard is there. They're able to touch, but look at how low the health pools are on the side of InControl Nation. Everyone's being kept alive. They are maximizing their health bars right now.
That is, I can't believe they got out, honestly, from that. But Ice Monkey will finally fall on the fast overtime from how long they were able to survive. Ends up biting them, because what they ended up doing, what's the most impactful ultimate in the game, in this game right now to you? When you look at these 10 characters.
When I look at these 10 characters, the most impactful ultimate in the game right now. Well, I would say that it would have to be Assert Dominance, in my opinion.
Right, exactly.
I
they
think,
gave him time to charge it back up because that fight went so long. That's what I'm saying. Maybe they just give it up. They say, all right, well, we don't have Seismic Crash, but that all falls off a little bit as the game goes on anyway. Maybe we just rely on our other things, but they're willing to spend more resources and not necessarily walk away with anything that they wanted other than feeding into Parallax and what they want.
Yeah, and I mean, once again, they have to try and see if they can at least fight back in the best way that they can on either side. I mean, it's stalled out. It's 1-1. InControl were able to capture that point. Hopefully, Outlanders get taken out as easily this time around. Talus has made his way all the way over into the back line. Manages to find some damage, but the health pools are so low on the side of InControl. They have to use the Dread Serpent to see if they can peel. Scout on everything. Makarj is being focused, but he's being healed right back up. Talus is in a bad spot. He true powers into the entire team. Midtown finds those daggers. He's going to find the last hits. And Ice Monkey with no DR gets taken care of. So does King Kaiser. And now they're looking at the last one. But Amadeus is going to be able to trade that one out, at least for 3 of his teammates. Not the best trade, but it's worth something.
Yeah, and Kronz gets that cleanup onto Amadeus as they stand in this tree area. I think good control from them right now. Tyra did get the firebomb through in main, so they might get forced off a point, but enough space was left for Outlander to keep that up. And they have that Assert Dominance again. Inara's getting close. He could actually just get that cancel, but he has to stay on the point. But now he wants to use it to stop King Kaiser. Kaiser gets a little bit too close, and the double stun comes in.
Mitao already found himself a double. Ice Monkey made his way back to the point and is at least able to find Dente. But look at Mitao in the back line with a triple kill. What will he do here? Loses once again to Amadeus, but that health pool is not favoring him at all. As Amadeus is one of the last ones standing on his team once again. This time, Parallax got to put the shoe on the other foot and capture this point for themselves.
I mean, when you're against a Nash and a Genos that she's going to charge ult a little bit faster than you think. Kaiser just overstepped. He thought he could catch Ashe right before that ult was up. No way for them to see that like we can, so unfortunate that that completely falls apart. Right now they're spending ults to aggressive. Bronze just got stunned. Looks like they managed to force him out with raw damage.
Oh my goodness, Amadeus is going to be able to find that kill. They get rid of his Spexy as now mid-tower. Let's see if he can find a way out. He actually wants to take the fight here, but Makar is just going to be there on the side. Make sure he finds that last hit into him. Dintic is there, but he just eats a whole bunch of shots from Androxus. He gets dealt with, and that submits InControl's lead for this point fight, for this objective push, as they can now cement a zone for themselves and see if they can try and hold on for as long as they can. But Ice Monkey might be up a little bit too far. That DR's gone, and he's going to get Void Grip. That's already a good call for Parallax.
And look at this, actually. They're trying to get aggressive with the Heat Haze, but smartly it forces out the Scout, so now they could just use it as a rate of fire boost, which is probably what it's best for a lot of the time, honestly, when that castle is in the game. They take Tree and fight to the back. That Sandtrap missing, though, might end up trading his life, but perfect peel. They got Amadeus.
Spexy manages to find that kill as Kronz finds another one. It's the back line. Healer gone, and so is DPS. As the respawn timers are now ticking down, they manage to find another one. Parallax, another member staggered out in its entirety. They're trying to move in as best as they can. I don't know if there's really anything they can do on the side of InControl. They just have to play back. Ice Monkey, no DR. Being looked at by so many people, but being pocketed means that he's not going to go down anytime soon. They have the Dread Surf to try and counter things out if they try and go for the dive, but it doesn't seem like it for the most part. They're finding the arrows here, and they use the rapid fire arrow, if anything, to see if they can do it, to see if they can do something. But the crossfire is what's going to be the utilization here. Dread Surfing got utilized beforehand, but this is the peel. This is to make sure they don't roll this car in. And Makarj is one of the only ones there, along with Souza. There's two of them remaining. Will they live? The answer is nope, as it is now a 3-1.
Parallax just chipped away. That's what they had to do on that push. They just stood on the side, surrounded Ice Monkey, that solo tank. This is why it can falter on some maps. Ice Monkey, yeah, he got all that healing from Max, and when I take a look at those healing charts, I expect his stats to be just omega boosted now after he was able to do that. But I think losing out on your solo tank to defend there, kind of a big deal. You really need them to stay alive, but just chipped away by Parallax. All those caught threes coming into effect. Dintic even just jumping on the far side of the objective just to get the tiniest bit of LOS to follow up on that kill. I think good play there by the end. And Parallax coming into this mid with a lot of ultimates available and InControl close to some, but effectively nothing.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's once again mounted up and ready to go. As the next round, what could be the last one, for InControl to try and see if they can regain the reins of this fight. Kronz all the way in the back line. Assert dominance through time and space, see if they can get a combo. Dintic is going to find one kill on Amadeus. Ice Monkey gets Void Grip almost instantly, and three people have to respect Kronz up on the high ground. And Spexy sits back and just relaxes on the point. He now trades spots with the Genos, as they're finding so many kills on the side of Parallax Gaming and damage. It's hard to try and see if they can find anything. 45% available for Parallax Gaming, as they have to hold on as best as they can.
They do get an early pick, though, and the ultimates that they were lacking before are now coming up. With Kronz completely caught out by this Scout, Ashe can't really live through 2 DPS like this, but he manages to with the peel from Midtow. But someone has to rotate to the point. The Cursed Arm's going to stop him.
Cursed Arm to zone out anybody that might try and make their way on the point, but it seems like the Spexy was at least able to touch. With the utilization of Heat Haze, he's able to touch once again. The Seismic Crash manages to land, and I thought he was about to make it out for a second. That was going to be huge. They roll right back over the car, and they just find too many members on the side of Parallax for Parallax to really even try and capture the point to see if they can make this the last one, but InControl deny that one, and they're going to make it a 2-3.
Them going over the point, when Kronz dashed right over the objective, when no one was on it, it doesn't trigger another overtime. You have to be actively contesting someone to have that happen. So Ice Monkey leaving the point so smart, it lets them not be able to get away with it. And Outlander utilizing that Space Jam 1. If you have Space Jam 1 and you jump on that fence, hey, you can get back to spawn. Wouldn't you know it? Lets you play a lot more aggressive on that Genos and still be able to get away with it as long as you have a solid defensive hold.
Yeah, 50 seconds still remaining. The Cursed Arm has just now come online. They're looking for an opportunity to see if they can push in, but Amadeus is gone. It doesn't seem like they'll be able to make much ground here. So InControl have to concede the space that they've gained on the side of Red Team. You know, we just want to wait a little bit longer to see if they can make their way back to car once their teammate comes back. It seems like they will, now that they've all been healed up. Out of combat healing, meaning a lot as well, because they are now back in the saddle, as they do have the accursed arm, just trying to see if they can plug those shots into people. Doesn't really seem like it for the most part, as Dintic tries to like around the side. He actually does manage to find Sozo. They knew he was back there, and Midtown is able to actually provide some reinforcements for Dintic. Now look at where they are. They're moving all the way into the back. Ice Monkey's gone now. They want to try and even move in. Midtown, will he find another? He does. Kronz finds one up on high ground. That's 3 members gone on the side of InControl, with 2 of them just now respawning.
Nobody there on the far right side. I think you put Tyra maybe back in the apartments when they have flankers like that you know are going to try to make moves, but Tyra trying to fight up front, it looks like, through that Ash shield, doesn't end up being in the right spot to kind of stop that from happening, but they don't go too far forward. They're playing it safe. InControl are going to be able to get back and set up for another potential push, depending on what resources they want to use, but at a 2-3, you don't want to spend it, because if you do everything and then don't get it, then you're going into a 2-3 where they can win with a disadvantage. If you spend everything and do get it, they probably just held, and they again have an advantage.
So they just want to hold on to their ultimates for now. Kronz is peeking by the window, seeing that he get a pick. He does. Finds one on the Ice Monkey, which is a great look for him. The Cars is the next one to get taken care of, as now they're in the back line, wreaking havoc, seeing if they can find anything. Doesn't look like they can find much, though, as Kronz is going to find himself another kill.
Yeah, great pressure right now from Kronz, just getting 3 of those kills on this defense, and the timing of it is perfect too, because there's no way they can get in. Ice Monkey just trying to do some damage, get extra credits from those stats, from the elimination that they're able to get here, and Kaiser denying credits in exchange. He manages to jump in the corner, not end up falling, and manage a small advantage, but with 2 mids won by Parallax, that's 600 extra credits in their pocket they're going to be able to utilize here. Damba running. Interesting, you see different Damba priority across the card. Swift Spirit's going to be the priority here instead of that survivability. You think maybe into Talus and a Mave, you've seen more of a leaning towards possession, but just play what you're used to, it seems, some of these times. Maybe leaning more towards that speed and hope your engage is fast enough to not even let those flankers get in the first place.
It seems like it's at least working out for them in the most part.
For sure.
It seems like they're able to at least back off effectively and hit the gas pedal when they need to. That speed spirits is going to be pretty huge for them, at least, as they have to try and find a way to make it work this round. As Dintic is going to move in, finds the damage. They use the Midnight. Midtown wants to be all the way in the back, manages to find a couple daggers. That's going to be enough first for him. Can they catch him? And he gets disengaged, I believe, in the back, or at least something knocked him all the way forward. Oh, it was the shoulder bash. Kronz was all the way in the back line. I didn't manage to see him there. They have the assert dominance as well. Have comeback mechanic for InControl. Dintic just wants to push in. He tries to find some damage, and he does, but he doesn't find the kill.
Yeah, that aggressive retreat attempt from Parallax ends up sending King Kaiser into the backline, but doesn't matter. Potential play right now from Miko over the top. Only one person seen, though. He doesn't go for the one he can see. He tries to find a Spexy and ends up wasting all 4 charges.
42% already available for Parallax Gaming, as now they use the assert dominance, and they manage to get the kill with the through time and space as well. That's going to be huge. They want to move their way in as best as they can. Here they go. They put the Rune of Travel down as Dintic wants to try and find an opportunity along with the rest of Parallax Gaming. See if they can put this one to bed. That's a double kill for Talus as he takes the Rune of Travel back. Can they get the dismount? They do on Inara. If that's all she wrote, pretty much, Inara definitely can't make it back. No one on the other side of InControl can either. Parallax with the 2-1.
I think picking up the flanks changed the pace of the game so much. InControl never really had an answer. They never really responded to them properly. I think the mids that they fought were solid. I think I liked how they did it, but they were on their push. They didn't, I think, adapt the same way that they needed to get rid of it. Letting Dintic in for free into the back line. I mean, I get it if you can't stop Midtown, right? Because he can literally just go around the far outside, or he could just fly over you with Mave, a lot of mobility there. But you can stop Dintic. He's got no mobility. He walks. He's fast, but he just walks. If you can't stop him from getting into the back line, I don't think you're playing into the enemy comp properly.
Yeah, and I don't think you are either. I mean, it comes down at the end of the day to how these people utilize their drafts in the best way that they can. Because there are definitely times where we've seen people have these drafts that seem like they would be strong, that seem like they would be twice as strong as the opposing team's draft, but it doesn't work out that way. It's just all comes down to how it's been played. And when they realized they could hit the gas pedal, when Parallax found those opportunities to open things up, Midtown would dive to the back line. They would use that Midnight to see if they could try and move all the way into the back, if they could try and get those kills, and it would pay off for them. When they got it, they were able to hit the gas, make sure they kept pushing forward, and eventually capture those points.
And look at this damage spread right now. I want to point out this specifically from Dintic. He took about 80, 74 less damage than he dealt. So a perfect trade, more or less, there. Exactly what he's taken in, he's given out in response. I think good spread there. Also, Kronz with a monumental amount of damage for an Ashe in that composition. I mean, out damaging Kaiser on that Tyra, who I thought was having a great game, and almost out damaging Amadeus. But that's what Genos brings, I guess. I mean, a good game from Hitao Spexy as well. And InControl, their damage dealt in terms of damage taken, I mean, definitely leaning towards the other side. But they had a lot of squishy targets to fight into, not necessarily shock, right, especially with the lack of healing from a Genos, or like lack of burst healing in a fight, that the damage would be skewed one way. But the KDA is definitely what we want to be looking at here. A lot of greens bought by InControl. They had the credit advantage, but caught 3. Look at that. Just, if you want to talk coordination, I mean, look at that. Those Parallax buys. Caught 3 for everybody but Outlander, who got Chronos 3, Resil 3 for everybody else. Definitely knew exactly what they needed to take this win.
Yeah, and it's that sort of it's that sort of item purchasing at the right time, at the right moment, and choosing things over other things means that you're going to be able to come out on top of most, if not all, of these situations. You mentioned it before, the team coordination, and there's nothing more coordinated than seeing multiple caught 3s in multiple Resil 3s, maybe even a Resil 2, and seeing exactly what you need to keep yourself alive in most of those fights. So congratulations to Parallax to be able to make that a 2-1, because it seemed like InControl definitely had a lot of those, had their number a lot of the time. It seemed like they were finding a lot of those picks, finding those kills, but it ended 4-2. Parallax, once they found that hole in the game plan of InControl, they were able to capitalize on it.
Yeah, and I think being able to do that, huge for Parallax, why they've been as dominant as they have been so far. But again, this is the closest I think we've ever seen them be taken in the past. And I think InControl potential to keep it going. And I definitely want to see that. But just like me, just like you, we're going to have to wait till after this break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Picture in my mind. You wanna leave it all behind. In a world that's turning all the time, nothing could stop me longing for your eyes. I won't let it die. I can feel you when you're not. When
Welcome back into the Paladins Pro circuit as we head right back into the set of Parallax Gaming versus InControl Nation. Parallax have the lead now. It was tied at 1-1, and due to a very close game, or it felt like a close game on Bright Marsh, Parallax are going to steal that 1-1 tie away from them, make it a 2-1. We're going to head to the Stone Keep for this, what could be the final map, if anything.
Potentially, but InControl, I mean, they took a map off them earlier, 4-1,
Yeah.
I believe the score was for that, so definite potential here for InControl to take that back and tie it up to move forward. We'll see how they adapt to what Parallax brought in these picks and bans, and BK will be the first one taken off. I think he's great on this map. I've talked about it all the time, how much Bomb King can do here, and Parallax respond with the Buck. Clearly, I mean, lose against Buck, win with it banned. Might as well stick to it.
Yeah. I mean, Bomb King and Buck are going to be gone, just like you were saying beforehand. We're going to have to ban Ash on the side
Thank
of
you
InControl
for
Nation.
laughing at me typing as good and me having to correct my mistake. Luckily, I have done that fast enough. The final ban for Parallax, a backline going to be Victor, gotten rid of. That life-stealing kind of demon in the back that is so effective on Stone Keep will not be in the game right now. Oh, I see that it is actually Stone Keep, by the way, the tool. I forgot to press the button that makes it stay. Stone Keep right there. My bad on that one. And InControl with their first pick are going to pick up Corvus.
Interesting. So Corvus is going to be locked in first pick. I mean, the survivability is there. It's just a matter of what Parallax want to take here. Will they steal the Inara away from Corvus? I personally would think so. I think that's a combo. I don't think you give up Inara here, especially when they have that Corvus at the back of a very, very strong point tank, the best point tank in the entire game right now. I don't think you give that up, but it's going to be Androxus, and that is going to be it for the first pick. And Inara, okay, that's what it's going to be.
They just wanted to hold you in suspense, Vaughn.
Yeah,
I
guess
did not know that
so.
Inara was going to get picked by. But I mean, Inara lost the first two, right? To the team with the Nando won the first two games. Inara also then lost game 3. I believe also to the solo Ashe, so Inara still being prioritized, but again, I don't think it's like a win or lose kind of thing with the Inara. Inara will always do her job. I think it's about the draft around it to execute. Inara is just the safest, almost kind of uncounterable pick effectively. Xin picked up by InControl, perfect pairing with that Corvus. I think very strong lifesteal combined with that, and I think Vivian will love that too. Honestly, that's a lot of damage already on the table for InControl, and we've seen exclusively triple DPS so far. I think this is a great start if that's how the draft is going to end up.
Corvus, Xin, Vivian, outside of InControl Nation, not only does that allow survivability, but plenty of damage to burn whoever their unfortunate target might be. It's going to be outdone by Cassie. That's good pocketing on the side of Inara, but also spreads out plenty of those heals. Make sure they have that DR. So that's a great look for them. I could imagine they would probably try and lock in maybe a good point tank for themselves. It's going to be Fernando, actually. That's interesting. We're not seeing Terminus. They're taking the Fernando over everything else. I guess they feel like the Immortal is just that good.
I'm surprised you said Terminus and not the other option that we haven't seen so far in Brazil today.
Oh, you mean he who shall not be named?
He should not be named. I mean, we might have evolved. I might actually go through a day without seeing him. What a joyous occasion that would be. Now, to be fair, I just want to clarify to everybody in the chat, I don't have anything against Barrick. I just don't get why teams are picking him, and I don't know why they're forcing him, and I think the Nando, still a great fill-in there. Last pick up for Parallax, though. Both teams have forced triple DPS this entire time. We'll see if anything is different here on Stone Keep, and it won't be. Eevee will be their last pickup. I think a lot of mobility, always going to be good on Stone Keep. We saw Eevee just dominate in Europe earlier today. We'll see if that can carry in for Parallax, a team with I think, phenomenal mechanical skill. Definitely that would pair pretty well with a character like Eevee.
Yeah, and a triple DPS composition means that you're going to hit the gas. You're going to make Vivian as uncomfortable as possible, especially since you have Cassie, Androxus, Eevee. Eevee and Androxus dive better than mostly anyone else it is that I know of, especially in the situation that they can also get out just as effectively. So you have to be careful when you're playing on the Vivian. And a lot of the people, even though they've been banning her, there's been a lot of discussion about whether she's actually somebody like a force to be reckoned with or not, especially if you have these compositions that run the Androxus, that run the Eevee, that run these high dive compositions. But she's still going to be able to burn through a lot of those targets. You still got to be careful And we've seen that these teams don't want to leave her open, even if they feel like they have those counters.
I mean, even with counters, we've seen it win. Even she wins all the time. Her win rate is still very absurd. We don't have the stats here. Those are connected to the main broadcast team, but we have looked at them, and I believe it was somewhere up in the, like, 60s, somewhere around there, a little bit below. Surprisingly, I think one of the only champions with a higher win rate was Maeve, who is somewhere in the 70s. Just, I think, by virtue of not being picked up as much. We'll see if those win rates can carry InControl to a tie here in this set as we head into the game on Stone Keep. Take a look at these talents. Looks like nothing too surprising here other than Yomi again. I think being able to delete the Inara off the point could be valuable for Cursed with Guillotine there, but Yomi to win those duels, I just feel like they're not going to take them. I feel like they're just going to leave that Xin, and because they know they might not be able to win it with that Corvus backing him up.
Yeah. And I mean, that's going to be pretty huge as well, because it means that he'll be able to escape out of most situations and dive even harder, which I don't even know that's possible with Xin, but it's probably going to be the best option they have when you have a Corvus at your back. You're going to have plenty of time to be able to get in, get right back out, and he's going to start off with the Whirlwind. See if he can move his way in as best as he can. Doesn't really seem like they find much, really. That's going to be the first hit that I've seen anyone take for right now. 15% already on the point for Parallax Gaming. Makar's coming around on the side. Missed the daggers, at least the opening daggers they would have needed to try and submit any more damage. They're going to squish your targets, moving into the back. He's going to miss those shots. Everyone's pretty much taking their time right now. 33% to 18. The first touch is being given out from both sides. As now Dentic is trying to put some pressure from Church, and I really don't know. They just they can move in, but Kronz just says, forget the point. We're just going to hit the gas pedal. They're going to move in as hard as they can, and that's going to be 39%. That's what InControl have right now, but Parallax are ready to gain some more.
We'll see how aggressive this double flanker can be with the Andro and the Eevee right now. Dintic does help them clean up the Eevee, the Maeve, excuse me, and this Eevee. Look at that, just trading into Kaiser. Get behind the counter. You're getting a guaranteed lot of damage. Follow up maybe, but it does force the Billow, and Parallax maintain the space that they're holding right now. Someone has to move into touch soon. It's going to have to be Ice, but that's a lot of damage for him to dash into.
Counter already moves in with 99% already on the point for Parallax Gaming. Great shot from Dintic to lower Maeve even more so, but there's not going to be any kills cemented. The first one they're going to find is one on the Ice Monkey. Now it forces anyone else on the side of InControl to roll in a card. If they can, they find one onto Dintic. He's gone. Now they have to worry about the Xin. King Kaiser, as Vivian is now free firing directly into the Inara. King Kaiser goes down. The kills are checkerboarding. And Amadeus is going to step on point just to cause the overtime touch. Back right on off. Ice Monkey is available. And speaking of ice, the Ice Storm gets dropped directly into the backline on Corvus. Dreadserver gets utilized, and they find themselves a double kill as Souza and Ice Monkey go down. Amadeus follows suit soon after that, but not before taking out Outlander when the smoke clears and the bullets are back in the clip. Parallax find themselves 1-0.
And that was close too, honestly. I think without Spexy kind of just carrying near the end of that fight, I don't think there's any way they make that happen with how much damage Amadeus was doing. But look at this upper control. I think with triple DPS, I've talked about it a lot. I think it's very hard to defend. So whatever team ends up getting that mid-fight win, I will give my edge to being able to push this down. And Kron's already trying to kind of just find a place to push. They're just going to keep matching their tank into him, though. And that's why triple DPS might kind of not be as effective into pushing. Just throw the other tank in the way, and maybe the attacking team can't really break through as much.
There's the Immortal. Seismic Crash to ring true on some things, but the Immortal manages to counter that one out, but it seems like Parallax don't even care. They're going to find themselves a kill apiece as the game is going to end up being paused. And it seemed like everything was pretty stalemated for the most part in the very beginning of the game. Nobody was really on point. Nobody was really touching or anything like that. There's nothing that's really been happening too much. But in the long run of things, I definitely would try to consider a few things at least, Chris. I mean, do you feel like they use all these ultimates, especially since they haven't really found much on the side of Parallax? Do you feel like that's going to net them this fight? Do you feel like that's going to be huge since they burnt the Immortal already?
I think maybe, but I mean, like, look, there's a minute and 42 seconds left. There is plenty of time to recharge those ultimates as we head back into the game. And look, they're already potentially getting Ice Monkey. Spexy with the cross-map shot from the Ice Staff. We'll find that, and if they can follow up on King Kaiser as well, be guaranteed for that. But Spexy Blink caught on the corner. This crowd's just going to roll in. I mean, who's going to contest? They used all their cooldowns.
Tick already finds one. King Kaiser down. Amadeus, the next one to fall. Now Corvus has to reconsider his options and reconsider his life choices as they have to back up both into spawn. Both him and Maeve. No one else can touch it, and that's all she wrote. 2-0 for Parallax. already very, very good look for them.
I mean, I don't even know what to say about how one-sided that was. That mid-fight was so close also. I mean, Razor's Edge, I think, that could have gone in favor of InControl, depending on, you know, maybe that Ice Storm, maybe it gets warped out of. Maybe the projection gets used by Max and he doesn't get caught, but hey, it doesn't happen. Parallax walk away with it, but then the snowball just doesn't stop rolling. From that point on, they just maintain that, and they're able to put themselves in a great spot, but like you mentioned, low resources. If they failed that push, it would have been better for them coming into this fight, but now they just have to hope that the mental momentum of just dominating that hard will be enough to turn it around in the face of a Spite and a Midnight available to InControl.
2-0 already for Parallax. The Rezo 2 is going to be coming online, and Rezo 3 for Ice Monkey makes the most sense out of really a lot of these item buys, because he wants to make sure that he has CC for as little time as possible, especially if he needs a shield back up ASAP or try and back off. Especially finds the shots that he needs to gain some space in church. He's not going to find much more other than that, as now he's going to try and move in once again. King Kaiser is there, but all he does is meets his face with meets his fist to a face, if anything. 21% for Parallax Gaming, as the percentage is still steadily climbing for him. They haven't really found their way back on the point on the side of InControl, so they're really just biding their time, waiting for their teammate to respawn.
Andrew is so good into Maeve, and I think that's one of the reasons why she hasn't been picked up as much, but when he's banned, I mean, she definitely can kind of do whatever they want at that point. No Immortal, but a Cursed Arm is up and being spent by Dintic as that Spite misses. He's just trying to do damage to whoever tries to touch.
Unfortunately, one of those shots ended up hitting the tree, and beautiful Dread Serpent as well to force Ice Monkey back even more so. But they weren't able to touch, and you're 100% right. They can't really move onto point to see if they can try and contest at all, because they're losing as the Dread Serpent gets utilized. Everyone else that wasn't Ice Monkey was still doing damage. Everyone was feeling pretty good about themselves. So 74% for InControl, and the comeback mechanic being the factor means that they might actually be able to capture this one. Carlos looks like he can touch, and no, they won't actually be able to.
Spexy isn't able to make it, and I think Ice Monkey going as early as he did. Originally, I was thinking, all right, well, I got to call out Ice Monkey for walking to the point so early, but he ended up just soaking the Dread Serpent. He has enough Brazil where he was just able to make it back in, and Spexy checkmated more or less by that Xin and Banana getting caught out by Ice Monkey. On that push means advantage right now towards InControl. What other picks will Parallax give to them?
2 minutes and 5 seconds remaining as the card has just been captured, but it definitely doesn't look that way, as everyone's being so aggressive on the side of InControl. Take care of one of them, even with Rezo 3. You're not going to be saved much from the damage there, my friend. That split second was enough that Parallax needed to put you in the dirt. Minute 50 is now available on the clock as they managed to catch Midtow on the zone. It's going to be big, as Ice Monkey has now made his way back to point with the Immortal 2 at his back. That's going to be huge. Mikars takes care of Spexy as well. Could this be a potential turnaround? If anything, I mean, they might even be able to roll this one in as the Earthen Guard goes up. Anara is there, but how much longer can she stay in that corner? Once the DR goes down, you're dealing with some trouble.
Yeah, she could go for a while, but they actually, it looks like they used the Dread Serpent to peel on the low ground as we watch this duel on high with Dintic and Tamika. They just backed off from it. No kills, but they just disengage. Everyone's kind of far back. I only see 4 members of this team, though. There is King Kaiser. He got picked off early. He'll be willing to come up top, prepping that Yomi to do some early damage and hitting 2 people. He might be willing to pressure off this.
Yeah, minute remaining now. The clock is still steadily dwindling down, but look how much space has been given to InControl on this push. They're trying to bide their time here. Dread Serpent had been used a little bit beforehand, but they actually take care of Midtow on the way in. That's going to be a good look for them, as Midnight is what they want to use to hit the gas as they take care of King Kaiser before that Midnight fully takes effect. They're trying to avoid as much as they can. As a Spexy, oh my goodness, I apologize for anybody that may have gotten motion sick during that, but that's typical EV gameplay, if anything, and not as typical to find a double kill on the side of a Spexy. Especially on the Eevee, I would say. I mean, his Eevee is insane, but you don't expect the Eevee to be able to pull out a double kill like that, especially on a push in where it seemed like InControl had, once again, here comes the pun, so much control over the situation.
Wow. Thank you.
Yep.
For that one. No, thank
problem,
you.
man.
No, it's fine. We have contractually, InControl made us sign something. We have to use it at least a couple times per broadcast. I didn't want to air it out there, but I'm glad we were finally able to, honestly, find weight off my shoulders and weight on the shoulders of InControl as they're under pressure trying to make it to this objective. They do get there with the Nando, but a lot of damage coming in early, and this Inara is starting to get surrounded.
Overtime being a factor means that they have to find their way on the point and roll this card in, or they just lose the round. Overtime is still a factor as they're coming up with a bunch of kills on the side of InControl. They're the ones tossing out the daggers on the side of Mikar. Just the Seismic Crash seems to have tried to be utilized. Good thing he died there, because at least I don't think I would have agreed with too much with that decision. They may have tried to set up for the accursed arm, but that's neither here nor there as a cart is still rolling through. I know one thing, they got to stop that cart from rolling on in. Dintic goes down, so does Mittal before he can even set one single toe on that cart. That's going to be a 2-2 tie for InControl.
Wow, what a flip from InControl now. Parallax. They have a lot of ultimates, though, with Spite and Midnight getting spent, so they know that Midnight's not going to be up. They can use that scout early and kind of set up their plan for how they want to move forward, especially if they think they're charging it fast enough. Mittal, I think, doing a respectable amount of damage. I actually didn't look before I said that, but he's actually out-damaging Vivian, so yeah, I'd say that's kind of nuts right now for him. We'll see how that carries on with that Wrecker being rushed by him, so not focusing the characters as much, aiming for those shields, and that will lower your ult charge rate. You don't get ult charge for that, so a little bit less there. But Parallax, they can just engage with they have the CC ultimate paired with Accursed Arm. Boom, you have 3 CCL to choose from. Pick one and just make it work.
Because all you need is that split second. Even when the Brazil start coming online, all you need is some sort of advantage to use that burst damage. But we'll see if that's going to end up being the case here, as they're trying to focus on who they can. They use the Immortal almost instantly, but that doesn't save his health pool, as they use the reversal from across the map. They use the Dread Server to see if they can force things out, but King Kaiser chilling in church, seeing if he can try and get a good flank on, but he has to rotate around to see if he can help his team.
And up top right now is Outlander. Look at that far back entropic breach onto the objective. It just forces them off, but not for that long. It doesn't do that much damage. Nice Monkey now playing on the far side, but a long-range seismic crash finds Ice Monkey.
Yeah, that's going to be huge as they find him. They take care, check him off the list as Mittal goes down soon after that. Mikar is just going to find that one, as they're now waiting to see how they can touch on point. And they can install 69% for Parallax Gaming. They do have the Midnight up. You are correct, Krez. This might be the gas pedal they wanted. They were just waiting for Ice Monkey to see if they can make their way back. Blinks in, blinks out. Ice Storm, because they try and dive onto him. And Midcard is actually going to lose that trade right there. 87% is available for Parallax Gaming. They're diving on the King Kaiser, seeing what they can do. He's brought to half health, and they have to back off. Ice Monkey is extremely low. Shield Machine broke. Have a nice day, if anything. He can't touch the point any longer than he needs to. He tries to move back on, but at this point, it's just curtains for Fernando. 482 health, but gets healed right back up thanks to Corvus. Overtime is still a factor here, but Ice Monkey is destined to go down. That's going to be 3-2 for Parallax Game.
Yeah, what a play, I think, by the end by them. They had to get that Midnight just a little bit faster. They had a pick on Mittal. That was the perfect time to use it, but they just were not willing to spend right away. They had to get that charge first. Only hurts them. Spexy is just the king of these directs right now. I thought that one was going to hit. Honestly, swear to God, I thought that one was about to connect as he was running away, but Spexy just playing very safe, poking for now, and InControl ready to come in on the back of this Entropic Breach.
There it is, the Entropic Breach, to see if they can try and fight back against the zone and push that Parallax we're going to have, but not really paying that much attention to Nara and Mittal on the side. Kronz and Mittal both chilling back here. Mittal seems to be losing that trade for the most part from the Mave, but they're at least going to be able to take care of King Kaiser in the back line. That's a minute and 42 still available. Look at the health pool on Anara, still alive. They have to back up to peel for a Spexy. They can't even get the kill on Anara, so they have that point presence if they need to. Take moving around on the side, seeing if he can find any more shots to plug in to the opposing team. Deflector shield up means that you're not going to be able to trade into that one very well. Now they've regained some space, but not enough to say that they're comfortable to get a zone going. As a seismic crash seems to be what they want to start things off with. Doesn't actually use the Immortal, but doesn't feel the need to, but you should have probably used it, as Dintic finds himself a double kill, forces everyone else back. Reversal being a factor. Spexy up there with Dintic helping his homie out. A minute and 5 seconds still remaining as the cart has made its way halfway to the end point.
No, I still think that was smart by Ice Monkey not spending it there. I mean, you have a seismic crash coming into you. You have Brazil 3. The only way you die is if you're completely surrounded. Just happens he was completely surrounded and didn't quite realize, and now the Sentinels have to get popped on this defense. With King Kaiser ulting, using that spike just to get to high ground, but just getting traded into. Both flankers just catch him out, completely sandwich him, and now Ice Monkey under so much pressure on cart.
Finds one. They have to force out the Immortal here, but look at how much control Parallax still have over, if not the entire situation here. They have to see what they can find. The Immortal got used. Ice Monkey's low. He's brought virtually nothing. Accursed Arm to make sure they cement that one as we get an overhead view of everything going on. Gora gets tossed out. Mittal's low, but they take care of Mikar. And soon after that, King Kaiser is going to go down. Sosa's the next one to fall. And Parallax Gaming is going to make this a 3-1 in favor of them.
And, you know, I don't know if they're even happy about that. I mean, I'm sure they're happy they won, but they're probably like, our perfect record, no! Definitely, but Still, InControl, I think, looking good into them. Parallax figures them out. They can't necessarily adapt their draft in time. I thought they had a good look in that one. Pick up that Mave instead of the Buck. Play that level of sustain instead. But it's not enough. They have that, and it's not enough to end up turning the table. Parallax just look like they have command of the game the majority of the time.
Yeah, and it makes it that much more important to have that sort of control, especially when InControl were able to pretty much put a damper on one of the maps that you were trying to play on. They weren't able to find the foothold that they needed on Splitstone. And as Bright Marsh was going on, it seemed like InControl still had a very good grasp on the entire situation, but they weren't able to find much of any of that towards the tail end of that. Once Parallax found out what they needed to do, they full-on sent it there. They full-on played the aggressor here, and that triple DPS definitely seems to be what they want to do a lot of the time. It's been working out for them astronomically, and it definitely worked out for them very well. We can see that in the damage numbers. Amadeus 102,000 damage on Vivian, but look at about the even damage numbers on 3 of the DPS on Parallax, except for Spexy. They almost have the same damage numbers between Metal and Dentic.
Yeah, really close between them. I mean, just a little bit less than 500. Actually, about 450 separating them there. InControl, close, I think. I mean, a lot of the damage went to Amadeus. Maeve and Xin aren't necessarily the kind of characters that do that overwhelming amount of damage. They kind of just engage. You know, they engage and they find those kills. Surprising to see them with the amount of damage that they managed to have. Self-healing also, I wanted to lean towards that as well. A little bit of self-sustain on the side of the characters of Parallax. I mean, Evie healing herself for 13,000 purely with the blink healing. The 250 when you go to and from your wormhole as you reset that. I do want to look at the KDAs though. Dintic 13-3, very impressive. Didn't really, he was getting a lot of kills, but I didn't really get a 13-3 level performance from him. But I think the real people struggling here, Ice Monkey and Mika, when Nando gets surrounded, it's just tough to live, and I feel like they were just losing those fights on the flank consistently.
Yeah, and they really couldn't hold on much. You saw Ice Monkey using those Immortals really out of desperation. There may have been one or 2 times where he used it when they were in control of the situation, but for the most part, they were... Oh, I didn't even realize I had made a pun. It just comes naturally, doesn't it, at this point, Ice Monkey?
But how much are they slipping you under the table? I need to know, because I want to get in on this.
Ice Monkey is using a lot of those Immortals to see if he can try and gain control of these situations, but it's not really going to be much of anything, really. I mean, it's not... He's using it out of desperation. He's trying to see if he can allow his team to live a little bit longer just so they can hold on just a fraction, see if they can find anything. But, like you said before, Dintic was really just up in the air. He was just holding on to a cursed arm. The minute he saw that Immortal, he's like, all right, it's about to run out. He pops a cursed arm. That verticality is going to hurt him. You can't really block all angles at once. That'd be a little bit too broken. That'd be like a dome shield, if anything. So that's going to be pretty hard. I mean,
I mean, that's an ultimate. That's effective. If you're getting that out of, I think, a regular cooldown, going to be intense. But Parallax, I mean, at the end of that, they end up kind of remaining on top of their region, I think, to the surprise of no one, but InControl, the team that put the most pressure on them last time. They maintained that, I think, title to keep it going. They keep pressure on Parallax, but Parallax, unbending, unbreaking, managed to make it work there for them. But that would be all of Brazil we have for the day. Only one game for Brazil and Europe, but both of NA coming up next after this break. Stick around. We'll be right back.